Bradley Beychok is president of Media Matters for America. You know, that great organization. So many members of Media Matters have been here on the show over the years. David Brock himself, the founder of Media Matters, was in studio just a couple of weeks ago, remember, with a new book out. In fact, he came here to talk about the book before the 60 Minutes broadcast, and his book was The Benghazi Hoax. It's an e-book available online, but I happen to have, thanks to Brad, a paperback copy of it, The Benghazi Hoax. Brad, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. You've been at the helm of Media Matters now for how long?
About 8 or 9 months. So it's been a year that I've been at Media Matters in December, so I'm close, my year anniversary.
Yeah, good for you. So Lara Logan apologized, right?
Right.
Is that the end of the story?
It doesn't seem so. I think, they hoped it would be. CBS has been consistent in one thing through the beginning and middle of this story, which is that they stonewalled and sort of have been very non-transparent of what's going on. So after, devoting so much time on this segment, taking heat for 10 days, they devoted 57 seconds to their apology on Sunday, and they said that would be the last time they spoke on the matter. But yesterday, in response to some questions from McClatchy News Service, there were 3 other factual errors that McClatchy had identified in the story. One was on the role of al-Qaeda. The second was about a medical center in Benghazi and who it was controlled by. And the third was some facts about the actual suspects that we're pursuing. And in response to those questions, 60 Minutes said that they were conducting an ongoing journalistic review. And so they took it a step further and sort of contradicted themselves from Friday. So there's more to be seen.
So just in case you haven't been able to follow us or up to date on this story, this is 60 Minutes with Lara Logan presented, put a guy on the air, Dylan Davies.
Correct.
Who told the story that the night of the attack on our consulate, September 11, 2012, he raced to the scene, scaled a wall, knocked the terrorist in the head with the butt of his gun, saw the Ambassador Stevens dead, and basically said there just wasn't enough security there at the embassy. We all know there wasn't enough security at the embassy. 2 days after that, and they spent a year preparing the story, and 2 days after that broadcast aired, or maybe even sooner, people said, hey, wait a minute, this is the same guy who told the FBI a totally different story and told his contractor, he was a security officer, told his contractor an entirely different story. He has zero credibility. What if they took a year examining this story?
Right.
Brad, I mean, how did they not know this?
Well, and so we'll back up. So they ran the report on Sunday night.
Yeah.
As you said, after the report in the overtime, they said that they'd conducted over 100 interviews in 5 different countries. On Monday at 11 a.m., a researcher, we like to say we watch Fox so you don't have to.
Yeah.
We were watching Fox on Monday after the story, and Adam Housley, one of their news correspondents, said, we've spoken to Morgan Jones was the fake name that he'd given 60 Minutes. He said, we've spoken to Morgan Jones in the past, but we stopped speaking to him when he asked us for money. And when he said that, it was sort of it seemed like a slip of the tongue admission, and he probably wishes he wouldn't have disclosed that.
Yeah.
So we rang the bell pretty hard, saying Fox passed up on this guy because he demanded money for his story. And that helped, I think, begin the drumbeat that called into question his credibility.
So if Fox doesn't trust the guy, right? Why would 60 Minutes? I mean, you have 45 years of excellence in journalism.
Fantastic, right.
Give them that, right? And for them to screw up here. Well, so I have to ask you this. Did Lara Logan, did she really have a thing against Obama and the administration? She gave, I read somewhere, she gave I think Paul Farah's story in the Washington Post, that she had actually given a speech as a journalist where she criticized the administration on Benghazi. So it seems that she had a political agenda here.
That's right. So
do you believe that?
I do think that they were willingly duped. I think they had a story that they wanted to tell. They knew that there were some holes in their story, and they made the decision to proceed and press forward even with the information they had. The speech you're talking about, she gave in October of 2012, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically what she said was, our attack on Benghazi is this attack on Benghazi is a really serious matter. The last time a U.S. embassy was attacked, it led to the bombing of the USS Cole. The time after that the embassy was attacked, it led to 9/11. And our government's sending in FBI investigators to look at this. I hope we're sending our most vigilant clandestine warriors to make those who did this to us pay. That's a really it's a fine opinion to have, but it's a very charged statement, which sort of flies in the face of, we didn't want politics to get in this story. There was no way that we were going to let a political agenda cloud what the facts were in our story that we told. And that obviously their story that they told was void of a lot of facts.
So, yeah, I mean, you expect a statement like that from a John Bolton or a John Boehner or a Darrell Issa, right? But to come from Lara Logan. Well, a question I've been asking, a lot of other people have too. You know, the only other time that CBS got in, that 60 Minutes got in a little hot water was back in 2004, was it? 2004 with Dan Rather and his story about George Bush's service in the National Guard. In that case, the story was true, but the documents that he used were forged. He lost his job. Why does Lara Logan still have a job, or should she?
So I think in 2004, we're asking that they follow the 2004 precedent of what they've done when they've made a mistake. Jeff Fager, the chairman of CBS News and the executive producer of 60 Minutes, last Thursday said that this was the biggest black eye that they'd had in the show's history. If that's the case, then in 2004, they released a 220-page report. They interviewed over 55 people. They spent 3 months. They appointed a former attorney general and the former CEO of the Associated Press.
Really?
And they fired 4 people.
Yeah.
It's a pretty exhaustive report.
Right.
This time,
so have they agreed to do that this time?
No. This time they've taken the opposite tact, and it's been, we're gonna apologize. We admit we made the error. We're moving on. So should you. And luckily and thankfully, I think a lot of smart media critics, a lot of media commentators, we've been trying to amplify and help with this. People aren't accepting that because this was a big error.
So you're calling on CBS to do a complete independent.
That's right. Just follow the precedent that they set in the past.
A complete independent investigation.
Right. Because that's the problem with the big news companies now is that CBS News, the same president of CBS News is Jeff Fager, who is the executive producer of 60 Minutes. It's hard to investigate yourself. I mean, you're only reporting to Les Moonves, the chairman of Viacom in general. That's hard.
All right. Now, obviously, Lara Logan is the one. She was a reporter. By the way, I always thought she was a great foreign affairs reporter. She's done a lot of good stuff. You got to give her credit for that. She's the one who got this story. She brought it to 60 Minutes. She obviously carried it through for a whole year. She put it on the air. Then she was the one who had to come out and apologize. But there were, Brad, producers. I mean,
without a doubt.
I've been in the TV news, right?
Right.
It's not a one-man or one-woman business. There are other producers who saw this story before it aired and said, "Yeah, let's go for it, huh?"
That's right. And obviously there's a producer, Max McClellan, that produced this piece. But there was an interesting Dylan Byers Politico piece a week ago tomorrow that was talking about how the 60 Minutes editorial process works now. And in the last year, they've removed one internal control where an executive vice president of CBS used to be the head of standards and practices and would help vet some of these stories.
Yeah, right.
60 Minutes on this particular story, according to Davies, to Dylan Byers' sources at CBS, was very insular in who they involved and who they allowed to help them get corroborating witnesses or accounts. Well, they needed some help because they got almost everything wrong.
No, indeed. And in fact, isn't part of the problem, 60 Minutes is not really part of CBS News, is it?
Right. There's a separate, they've divided some of Viacom and CBS up. That's right.
I was told somebody that they even, like, for example, here in Washington, D.C., they're not in the same building that CBS News is.
That may be true. I'm not sure.
So that some of the I guess my point is some of the editorial control that you would expect with CBS News doesn't exist at 60 Minutes.
That certainly could be possible. I mean, look, they made a lot of mistakes. They aired something that they already knew the guy had lied to his supervisor because he wrote it in his book. And that was the other thing that they made a mistake on, was the book was a conflict of interest, as Simon & Schuster is owned by CBS and Viacom. This book was published. They didn't disclose that fact in the broadcast, and that was the first error they admitted to the following week, and in a very subtle way. But they said we should have aired it because it didn't matter that it was published by Threshold, so we should have just said it. Yeah,
but it's no accident, no coincidence that the CBS report, 60 Minutes, I got to keep saying that, 60 Minutes report came out the very time this guy's book is being published by a publisher who is owned by CBS. I mean, this smells to high heaven, and me.